This is Christian Farmer's Traffic and Trade Group, and this is your end of day market video for Monday, January 26th. We'll try to make this a quick one today, just because of the price action. A little bit tougher once again. I mean, depends on what groups you're in. If you were in software and if you were in cyber stocks today, you had a pretty good day. A lot of them moved up pretty decently. So I'll review a couple of those moves very quickly. I think the most interesting thing for the day was what's going on in the metals, and what I think could be looking. I hate to try to make this call because I'm more of a trend trader than I am anything else. But what happened to my charts? There we go. And I'll just move this. What's wrong with this screen? Sorry, bear with me 1 second. I just want to show the chart. But to me, this looks like a bit of a blow off top. So what would make me say that? Number one, I would say look at the volume. You're going to hear, you're going to probably see this chart tweeted a lot today or tonight or the next day. But look at the volume in that. Also, look at this try to go higher, and a huge move. I think it was up at 1.12%, which I think is like the biggest move that it's seen. And look how it closed nowhere near the top of the day. Also, I think so. That's kind of two things. I would say looking at the candle, also looking at the volume is two. And then three, social media. I think silver was just mentioned. I don't have like the Google search for silver, but I'm sure that it's got to be also pretty extreme just from like looking at how much I saw that being mentioned. So just 1 second. I'm just going to stop. Oh, I guess I'm still sharing. Whoops. Oh, there we go. All right. So that's what I see for silver, and you could see that it's also selling off here after the close here too. So in any event, I've been long, not silver, but I've been long gold, and I've been long gold miners. We could look at these two because I think that this is the most interesting thing that happened today. Gold also extended away from the 5-day moving average. Not the type of volume that you saw in silver, but I still think kind of toppy today. Up 1.5% today. I think it was up at one point close to 3% for the day. Here's GDX. Again, these things are just relative to silver. Again, I wanted to bring up silver miners. Also look at the volume in silver miners, but these things should go hand in hand. Another chart that I want to bring up too is metals and mining. Look at the candle on metals and mining today. This ETF was down 4%. Now, this was kind of interesting because I was looking at this during the day and I said, XME is down 3%. And the silver and the gold miners are still up for the day. Now, again, you kind of have to understand that that just because it says metals and mining, you want to know what names are actually in here. So when we bring this up, I'm just going to this is the biggest names in here, and like Hecla Mine is in here, CDE, Royal Gold. But look at what happened to Alcoa today, and I'm just going to make this so that you could see what the actual movers were, and I'll zoom in here so you could actually see this. But we got this news overnight that USAR, like everybody was going crazy about, I think $1.6 billion contract that they were given, and again they closed nowhere near. I think they were up somewhere around like 25-30% in the pre-market, and they came in pretty decently. Still, you're still happy if you came in long today, but if you didn't take some profits really quickly, then you didn't get to achieve all those or lock in those profits, which I think is a really good thing to kind of realize right now. That's how this market's been operating. There's a lot of things that have been going up, but a lot of the things are just coming right back down. So notice what happened here. METC was down 20%. UAMY down 12%. HCC, which is a coal name, was down 9%. Look at MP Materials, was down 8.8% today. These names got absolutely smoked. Cliffs was down 7%. There's the Alcoa that I mentioned, which looked pretty decently from Friday. I actually have this on my watch list today, and that was down 5.9%. LEU, which is a uranium name. So let's go through a couple more of these charts. I want to bring up something that I was looking at last week. I almost put the rare earths. I liked the way that they looked going into the end of the week, and I looked at the chart last week and I said, you know, which by the way they were down 1.6% today, and there is another VPOC up here, but I noticed that this VPOC was taken out on Friday, and it normally. After a big move, we usually see some type of digestion here. And like I said, I almost added this, and I said, you know what, this is too extended to add it to the TTG global trend portfolio, and I'm glad I didn't. Also, what was the other chart that I was going to show? But we could look at Alcoa. That's an ugly looking candle as well. So I think the main thing to realize here is these things have been on an amazing run. They are due for some digestion. Let them come in here. I know it's really difficult to kind of separate yourself from, what probably was one of the best trades over the last 3 or 4 months. Just looks like it's probably in need of some pullback and digestion. Let's just review the indices very quickly. There's not a lot to really um, talk about here other than, hey, a nice day for S&P, up 0.5%. But now you're getting back into the top of this range, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get rejected here. Maybe the fact that I'm thinking that things are going to get rejected. Maybe that's where we break out from a contrarian standpoint. But same thing with the Qs. I'm like, every time that we've gotten to this 625 to 628 range, we've gotten at some point rejected over the last 3 months. So I think what's going to need to push this through is not just a reversion to the mean in software stocks. I think it's going to need to be really good earnings reports, which we haven't gotten yet. So, we've seen a couple reports that have been good. Taiwan Semi had a real good report. Intel, which again, Intel's to me like an outlier. It really doesn't or shouldn't move the market too much because I don't view them as a market leader in the semiconductors. But in any event, here's where we are once again. And lastly, I'll just review IWM, which again, we got a kind of sell signal here Thursday after looking at this candle. Friday, it really underperformed, and it also underperformed again today. So what would be good here for the small caps? Because they were the talk of the town. I think towards the end of last week, everybody was mentioning small caps. That was also a short-term contrarian sell signal, right? When everybody starts talking about something and realizes that it's acting really well, it's usually where you see some profit taking. So what I would like to see for IWM is basically for it just to kind of hold in here, right? And if you look on the 1 hour chart, I would be watching this right around this 263 level to see if this holds. It could actually come in, maybe it comes in tomorrow, and then maybe we see some hold here. The other chart that I think is probably the most interesting is this. This is software versus semis. So this year, and even over the last few months, really since May, I guess you could say, is software has kicked. I'm sorry, semis have kicked software's butt. But you're seeing this reversion back. So look at how oversold this ratio was, which makes me very hesitant to go long the software names here. And to be honest, I really haven't, and I've missed out on some nice gains the last couple days because I think this is just coming off very extreme oversold levels here for the software group. Names that got attention today in the software group were Zoom. This was up big today. It was up 11% today. Again, just kind of shows you there really wasn't that much interest in this name. And I forget what story it was that brought this thing up. I think it was there was an analyst note on Zoom. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry. I just knew I wasn't going to chase it. So there was a story too about Cloudflare and about this AI bot too that got that name going. Sorry, I've got the wrong note up here. Zoom investment in Anthropic, a hidden gem. That's what it was for bears. So that got Zoom going. I mean, other than I'm just not excited about this name. I wish I could be, because that's a really nice breakout on volume, and I'm covering it in my in my video so that you could see it. You can make your own judgment. Listen, I'm not right about all my ideas or trades, so I certainly don't want to tell you what's going to happen. Net got a big move today. Again, you're coming off really oversold type of levels, so this is a bounce for now in a downtrend. This was the one that got the attention. What was the name of that? Like Clawbot or something? Sorry, you can see how much I'm in Clawbot scaling. Okay, and I know it's getting some hype. To me, it's just another AI bot. But hey, again, that's to me. That may not be to you. Datadog, I think, is at an interesting level. This saw some call buying at the end of the day. Big move, up 5%, but into some resistance. And then another name that I thought were people were kind of interested in today was CrowdStrike, which was up 3.5%. So as I said in the beginning of the video, if you happen to go long all these names based on what happened on Friday, you're probably decently happy. And Microsoft tacked on some gains of about 9/10 of a percentage point. This is no longer oversold going into its earnings report. Remember, this is going to report after the close on Wednesday. So if you were looking for a trade, you probably got it. It's probably not going to be on earnings. And I think that's going to make it a much harder earnings report for them, as well as when Meta reports too, because Meta has really come back. They were all the way down to 600. Notice the support down here at 600, and they've come back to 670. I don't know what you do for these. I honestly don't know what you do for these names for earnings now. I was looking at maybe playing one of them long if they were oversold, but they're no longer oversold. Apple had a very big day today too. Notice the support that it got down to. Now, this is tricky because it spent a few days down here. It got down here like in the beginning of last week, had a couple inside days, didn't really move that much on Friday, but really got going today and back above the 5-day moving average, up 3% today. And then lastly, name that I'll cover, I got long today. Didn't necessarily work for me. This is GameStop, a name that you really would hardly ever hear me say something like that. But what's interesting is the CEO bought shares last week, so you have an insider buy. You have Michael Burry coming out and saying that he likes the stock long term, and there was a heck of a lot of call positioning today. So I would watch that 200-day moving average tomorrow. Last I saw, it was trading up a little bit in the after hours, but that's what I would watch. And then also, which is really my level to trade against, which is going to be this 23. If it manages to stay above that, I'm in it. We do have a bullish 80% rule here, and 2661 would be one level to watch to the upside if it can get going, and then 2755. So if I didn't mention it in the beginning of the video, I talked about silver and gold coming in. I did take profits in the TTG global trend portfolio. I sent that note out to members earlier that I took profits in GLD, GDX, and XME. I mean, these things were up huge. How much was XME up for this year? Year to date, it's up 27%. Just a monster move in a few weeks. So we'll see. I'll watch to see if these things kind of come in. I don't necessarily, I don't know if the trade is over in the whole metals and mining space. Probably not. But I think at the very least, due for some backing and filling and some consolidation. I'll leave it there, guys. Have a great night. You could find that note for the global trend portfolio scrolling on the bottom of your screen. You could go to ttgtrading.substack.com. It's the note. The note is free to see like the market data. If you want to see what's in the portfolios in my trading account, then you do have to subscribe, and it's $19.99.